So some key directors and management of staff of UT and Capital Banks are being prosecuted for various criminal offences for their complicity in the collapse of the banks and financial institutions. The accused persons are currently being cross-examined by prosecutors. This was contained in the latest reports of the Bank of Ghana and the ECO investigations into the criminal actions of these individuals leading to the collapse of banks and special deposit-taking institutions. We'll have details of this report shortly, but first, take a listen to the Executive Director of ECO, COP Mametiwadu Dankwa.
The dockets are there, and Attorney General is doing everything possible, including giving fiat to our lawyers at Yoko so that they can provide the backing to the office of the DPP to start the prosecution. Again, he's also going to provide training, tailor-made training for our officers, because that area of investigation and prosecution is a bit different from the normal prosecution that we do. So, Mr. Governor, I can assure you that this amount that you're going to give to us will not go wasted.
Now, Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, says they have advanced some 10 million cedis to ECO in the regulation of the sector.
The ECO has investigated and forwarded 11 dockets to the Attorney General's office. This has been done more than a year ago. And I'm saying so just to put pressure on the Attorney General's department. These dockets have been referred to them more than a year ago, pursuant to Section 19 of the ECO Organized Crime Act. Notwithstanding all these achievements, there is a lot of work still waiting to be done with respect to tracing of assets, to build concrete investigation, to lead to the effective prosecution of the perpetrators of these financial crimes.
Blessed Suga joins me via Zoom with details of the report, which has indicted certain individuals. Blessed, give us details of the work so far done by ECO and the joint receivers.
Well, Ernest, so what we do know is that a number of these transactions were referred to the Attorney General's Department by the Economic and Organized Crime Office, ECO, for criminal prosecution. Now, some of the directors and also key staff and management of the UT as well as Capital Banks were charged by the state for various criminal offenses, and ECO also assisted the joint receivers to take control of the landed properties of Capital Bank in Dansoman and also in parts of Cantonment.
And Blessed, where are we on the status of the investigations?
Well, for now, we do know that the joint receivers were key prosecution witnesses for the state in the ongoing criminal proceedings in court. And the joint receivers, as we do understand, have been cross-examined by the counsel for the defendants between 2020 and 2022. The status of the two cases as at August 2022 is that the accused persons in the Capital Bank case are currently being cross-examined by the state. With the UT Bank matter, we do know that the prosecution witness are also currently being cross-examined by the defendants or counsel as well.
And is it clear to us what the next steps will be in this report?
It appears that for now the focal point is around the joint receivers, so they will continue to assess the prosecution team in the ongoing case. A representation for ECO will be cross-examined, as we do understand, as a prosecution witness following their investigations as well of UT and Capital Bank. The joint receivers will also provide further and additional documents, as we understand, to prosecution to aid the ongoing investigations.
Breaks it down. It goes further to look at the institutions. There are about 347 microfinance companies and 23 savings and loans companies that collapsed. What more do we know about some of these institutions?
I think for now, the report says documents on about 13 of these microfinance and financial houses have been prepared for now. The dockets have also been forwarded to the Attorney General for advice and prosecution. For now, ECO has been following up with the Attorney General and some other agencies, and will in the coming days will be receiving some reports from prosecution witnesses in order to continue with the case.
Blessed, thank you very much for bringing us those details. Now, news just in, the monetary policy rate has been increased by 300 basis points. Business News editor George Rafe joins me in the studio with details. And George, this meeting was being watched closely. Investors, the international wires were monitoring because of what this will mean for the Ghanaian economy. Some economists thought that the Bank of Ghana was going to maintain the rate, given that, I mean, the economy is stretched and it's seeking to contract it. But now we are seeing a review upward. Yeah. Give us the details.
So what we are trying to just to get a little bit of understanding is that the Bank of Ghana believes that there's still a supply issue, that is some kind of excess cedi in circulation that is causing this problem. So that could be the reason why we're seeing some of these things that are happening. And before it came to that conclusion, it tried to explain to us some of the things that has happened over the past month and what is being done on the fiscal side, and how this would actually help with what is happening right now in the economy. So if you go through the statement that they actually issued, they actually tried to explain to us why they had to reach this decision by increasing it by this 300 basis points to actually 22%. So what they are trying to do is that they are trying to still compensate persons who have invested in our bonds, who are worried that inflation rate is eating up their real returns. Yeah. And this also could try and suck some excess money in circulation as well. When you also go through the statement as well, in terms of the primary reserves, in terms of how much a commercial bank can hold with the Bank of Ghana, there's a timetable where it will be increased gradually to almost from 13 to 14% to 15%. It looks like the Bank of Ghana has some data that is suggesting that there is some excess currency in circulation, and therefore they would want to use this monetary tool to suck it, because we actually picked up information recently that there are more persons who are taking more Ghana cedis to go and buy dollars, and it tells you that there is still excess liquidity in the system, and that is why they believe that they can use this tool, by the monetary tool and the primary reserves that they can use to try and check this problem. And so let's look at just one bit of a point 8 in the statement that they've released from the Bank of Ghana. It says that under these current circumstances and considering the risk to inflation outlook, don't forget that recently we saw utility tariffs going up. Yeah. So even though they had projected that inflation was slowing down, this was not expected. And therefore that slowdown might not happen. And that is why they are saying that looking at all the risk to inflation, and the committee decided to, on a 300 basis point for the monetary policy to 22% from 19%. If you go back to the point 7, Kojo, it talks about whilst addressing the immediate financing problem and the ongoing policy discussions with the IMF is expected to address the underlying macro challenges and restore fiscal and debt sustainability and provide sustainable balance of payment. So the Bank of Ghana also admits that the problem facing the economy is not just a monetary issue. It's
a fiscal aspect as well.
And therefore, they've actually outlined what is being done on the fiscal angle and what actually the monetary angle also has to do to address this thing. Now we come to the bit about, sorry, just trying to make a point, yeah.
And there are some economists who have suggested that enough of the monetary measures, let's look at the fiscal side, because they believe that is what we need to pay attention to. We have seen the situation where the BOG, of course, you mentioned the point about inflation. The Statistical Service had indicated that with the hike in utility tariffs and water,
the trend.
It will affect inflation. Yeah. And so it's interesting that the BOG takes cognizance of this fact in its decision.
And Kojo, yes, we all admit that it might be a fiscal issue, but it looks like data that the Bank of Ghana they have picked up suggests that there is still some level of liquidity in the system, because why would people won't go to the bank and withdraw their cedi accounts and go and use to buy dollars? It means that something has to be done to deal with that. So this policy hike, together with other fiscal issues, would address the problem. Again, let's go to another thing the Bank of Ghana is trying to do when it comes to those monetary or primary reserves. And in the statement, if you go through, it gives a calendar of how they are gradually, and that if you go back to the point at the top earlier on, it says that it gives that the committee also took the following additional measures. A, to raise the primary reserve requirements of banks from 12 to 15%.
And that's significant,
Yeah,
George, because it was around 10. It was dropped to 8 during COVID.
Yeah.
Brought back now to 12, and now we are seeing 15.
Yeah. So
that is quite significant.
And let's run through the timetable according to what the Bank of Ghana is saying, that they'll raise this primary requirement for banks from 12 to 15% to be implemented in phases. Now, 13% from 1st of September 2022, 14% from 1st of October, and 15% from 1st of November. And this is every money that the banks collect. There's a percentage you need to hold at the Bank of Ghana.
Yeah.
So it looks like the Bank of Ghana is using all the tools available at its disposal to try and mop up what they have seen as excess liquidity in the system. And this might deal with the demand side of inflation, whilst they also look at the fiscal side to deal with the supply side of inflation as well. A lot of people have been talking about the Ghana cedi. Now let's go to the point 10 and let's see what the Bank of Ghana says they are trying to do to boost dollars available. It says that to boost the supply of foreign exchange to the economy, the Bank of Ghana is working collectively or with the mining firms, international oil companies, and their bankers to purchase all their foreign exchange arising from the voluntary repatriation of the export proceeds from mining, from the oil and gas companies, and this will strengthen the Bank of Ghana's reserves. And these multinationals, they make a lot of money from what they sell, all those things. Now, the Bank of Ghana is now asking that give us that first right. Before you actually send that money to your shareholders, we want to take that and maybe give you a cedi return.
And especially as we head into the last quarter, I think this is very crucial for the multinational, for the economy of the country, given what they take away from
Kojo, don't forget that one critical thing that we're also dealing with is investor confidence. Yeah. So the fact that the signals this will send to the investors is that on the monetary side, everything is being done to hold the economy together. So for those who were rushing, those who were worried about the uncertainty and all the rest, they might be a little bit take it easy. They might not now be rushing to take their monies out, because they've seen that some drastic measures are being taken to check the situation. They didn't come out to announce that don't open dollar accounts and all those things, because that might be counterproductive. So what this will also do will be also to deal with the confidence issue that has seen a lot of dollars getting out of the country. We also hear that some people are taking their dollars and investing in bonds outside the country because they are not clear about the outlook. So this might also help deal with the confidence issue that you and I have been talking about that has brought us to the States.
Well, let's see how the investors respond to this and how the international market also responds to this. Professor Godfred Bokpin, for instance, has said that whilst we are waiting for the IMF, which he thinks is not the ultimate solution in addressing some of these issues, we should try and re-engineer our way into the international capital market. Would that be something that government, and not the BOG, but the finance ministry, for instance,
the finance minister
will be working on?
In a recent interview spoke about that. So it's not just about the money that you're going to get from the IMF. It's about the signal again that you tell people that there's a bigger brother in place to check you, so we don't see things depleting. Now, what this fund program will give us is that for the next 3 years, we're going to get $3 billion for balance of payment support. That is going directly to the Bank of Ghana, not government. So any investor that is dealing with you, that is buying your bonds, is assured that for the next 3 years, the Bank of Ghana will have cover to finance import. And if he wants to get out of the market, the Bank of Ghana will have dollars to give to him. So that brings some assurance. We're also hearing that the World Bank might give us about 3 to 4 billion. That will go directly to the budget project. So that is what a fund program is going to do for us. Not necessarily the money, but the fact that there's a big brother in to check you, to put you on track, and be disciplined with your finances.
Essentially, confidence restoration. George, thank you very much for bringing us those details there. So if you're just joining us, the monetary policy rate has been increased by 300 basis points. This is Joy News Prime. Let's do some other stories now. A district court in the United States of America has turned down a request to compel the University of Ghana to pay ACA, American Insurance Company, an amount of $165 million. This is judgment debt the school was to pay the company for allegedly breaching its obligation under the construction project. The project is a public-private partnership agreement between the University of Ghana and the company entered into with CPA Ghana in 2015. The university was required to release land and grant a concession to CPA to finance, construct, operate and maintain various new infrastructure projects on the campus. My colleague Joseph Akable has seen details of this judgment and he joins me via Zoom with details. Joseph, first of all, give us some context to this and then go ahead with the details of the judgment.
And so this project has been in the news for some time now. You recall it has been variously tagged as the African Integras project. It's a project that was supposed to see some key infrastructure, including various colleges of education infrastructure constructed, as well as also see the construction of some residential facilities at the University of Ghana. It's a financing model that the university opted for to address its infrastructure deficits. But the challenge that we saw occur once there was a change in administration was to the effect that the project contractor, in this particular instance, CPA, made the allegation that the University of Ghana had failed to perform its obligation under the contract. And so it opted to drag the University of Ghana to arbitration and later on exercised its right to terminate the agreement and proceeded to indicate that they wanted an expert to do a valuation of the termination value to determine how much judgment debts the University of Ghana was supposed to pay the company, CPA. And so it was put at the amount of $165 million. Now, CPA assigned its rights under the agreement to ACE, American Insurance Company, simply telling the company that this individual owes me $165 million in judgment debt. Take action against the individual to recover the amount. And so ACE, American Insurance Company, commenced the action against the University of Ghana at the District Court in the United States of America. Now, the University of Ghana, through its lawyers, entered an appearance and raised an initial objection on purely two technical grounds. And the first was to the effect that under the agreement that they had with CPA, which the ACE Insurance Company was trying to enforce, it required that in the event there was any arbitration, that arbitration should take place at a court in London. And that is only in the event that due to unforeseen circumstances, it cannot take place in London, that it can take place elsewhere. And this is an objection that the court upheld and said that indeed the agreement was unambiguous and it indicated in clear terms that any such action should take place in the United Kingdom and London to be specific. And so that initial objection was upheld. The second objection, which stemmed from the argument that had been advanced by ACE Insurance Company, was to the effect that the University of Ghana was a state entity, and that meant that it acquired an international status of sorts, which meant that it was not covered under the claim that it has to be limited to that particular specific arbitration location, being London in the United Kingdom. Okay. And that was the argument that ACE Insurance Company advanced, but the courts rejected that and rather upheld the arguments of the University of Ghana that the company, that is the University of Ghana as an entity, cannot be said to be, quote, the alter ego of the government of Ghana, such that it falls within that of an international entity within the international trading space that could have any action emanating or taking place in different courts to enforce it. And so in simple terms, it's good news for the University of Ghana community in that had this action succeeded, the University of Ghana would have been required to cough up immediately the amount of $165 million. And so this means that there's perhaps the option of it pursuing the angle of negotiating under an arbitration agreement with the company to possibly beat down this judgment debt amount and find a way out of it instead of being forced to cough out the amount of $165 million, Ernest.
Joseph, thank you very much. And you can read the details of the judgment on mindjoyonline.com. This is Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Mini. We're taking a break. When we return, we'll bring you more stories plus showbiz. Don't go away.